The Indian Child Bride and the Old Arab Husband. A novel by Dr. A. Ahmed. This narration continues the story of the Arab sugar daddy and the beautiful poor Indian girl. It was written in English and translated into Arabic by Dr. A. Ahmed. It is a tale that is narrated in 6 books. Book 2. The Arab Sugar Daddy Turns into the Granddaddy the Devil. Copyright. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author except by a reviewer, who may quote brief passages from the review for printing in a public newspaper, general magazine, school journal, or university article. All characters in this novel are fictitious and any resemblance to real people, living or dead, is purely coincidental. Chapter 34. The missing Muslim girl is in another golden cage. That day, if the happy lawyer Sheikh Barkatullah had waited in his taxi 5 minutes more in front of the cheap hotel, he would have seen the men who had kidnapped Ifat Khan and got the number plate of the big car that they used. That particular evening the happy lawyer was in a great hurry, and his trained powers of observation and patience had deserted him. As soon as the Indian maidservant alighted from the taxi, the exceedingly happy Wakil had told his taxi driver to hurry up and take him to his house in the Kurla area as soon as possible. The big feast and celebration planned in his honor were waiting. The 18-year-old girl Ifat Khan crossed the road and headed towards her hotel. She did not see the 2 Indian men coming up behind her. They grabbed her waist and clamped her mouth. A third accomplice drove up in a big car just behind them. Her 2 kidnappers shoved the resisting body of Ifat into the car. Anyone looking on would have assumed that the 3 men had just picked up one of the hundreds of the young prostitutes in Bombay Central. Actually, the cheap hotel where the Indian wife of Sheikh Ahmed is staying is smack in the middle of one of the worst areas in Mumbai. It is a part of the largest red light area of Ferris Road where there are hundreds of brothel houses. The wealthy business tycoon, whenever he visited Mumbai, used to stay in a 5-star hotel. His favorite hotel is the Taj Mahal. He used to pay $500 per night, which is equivalent to 35,000 Indian rupees. But the selfish and greedy old geezer forced his teenage Indian wife to stay in a cheap hotel that charges not more than 500 rupees per day. She is lucky enough to live over a month in that bad area without being kidnapped or raped by one of those sexually frustrated Indian loafers. Most probably because of her Islamic burqa that hid her beautiful and sexy physical figure. Yes, her burqa is a blessing in disguise sometimes. The one time she walked out without her ugly burqa led to the film director Mahmood Khan falling head over heels in love with her unmatchable gorgeous beauty. It is ironically the same one-sided love affair that her mother fell victim to many years ago with the old Saudi man, which she met by chance in the Colaba area, Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed, who changed the course of her life forever. At that time, the old geezer claimed to be the mad Arab lover Qais, and saw her beautiful mother Rayhana as his beloved Indian Layla. Now, after 10 years, the same love saga is being repeated all over again between the womanizer Mahmood Khan and the lovely teenage girl Ifat Khan. It is just like a curse that has been inherited by birth from a beautiful mother to her extremely beautiful daughter. Mahmood Khan had tried every trick under the sun to get her attention and win her heart, but he failed. He already knew that she is an NRI and would leave India and return one day to the place wherever she came from. That had the effect of increasing his determination and efforts. It was when his assistants reported her movements with the Muslim lawyer of the old Saudi man to the Swiss consulate and Air India building that he understood that she was planning to fly out of India and go to Europe and most probably from there to Iran. Faced with the thought that he would never see her again, he knew he either had to detain her or delay her departure. As a last resort, he gave his men the green light to kidnap her and bring her to his palace and his farmhouse. He does not intend to force himself on her, but rather to take his time and try to win her heart through his great wealth and name and fame, housing her in what is to be yet another golden cage. Before the kidnapping, his men were warned not to harm her. Ifat Khan's entire lifelong experience with men has heightened her fear of all men. She grew up thinking that men are somehow designed by nature to harm women. She has vivid memories of her mother's brutal rape by the two Saudi policemen in the Sahara Desert of Saudi Arabia. She clearly remembered the way the old man forced himself on her sexually when she was just a little girl of 7. No, there is nothing in Ifit's life that led her to believe otherwise. She simply thought that each man has been created by God like an animal, with more physical prowess than his female mate, simply so he could have sex by force. This is reinforced by the acts of procreation she had observed in animals. As a child, she had witnessed a bloody fight between a pair of cats. Exercising his physical superiority, the male forced the female cat to submit. She had seen the same deadly quarrel with a cock and a hen and a dog and its female dog. As a consequence of such observation, she concluded that sex equals pain. She has no concept of lovemaking. It is this frame of mind on the day of her kidnapping that she fully expected her abductors to beat her up and brutally rape her. She thought that the men would kill her the same way the two Saudi policemen had left her mother out to die after raping her. Ifit is now 18 years old, but she has the social and cognitive skills of an 8-year-old girl. Her mind stopped growing from the time the old man took her to Asmara and imprisoned her in his mansion, raping her night and day. The men took her to a place extremely far away. Their car only reached Mahmoud Khan's farmhouse at midnight. Ifit's heightened fear denied her any sleep. She was tired out and exhausted, and when the men did not drag her or force her out of the car, their tone mild and their manner respectful, Ifit obeyed, expecting a beating otherwise. One of them politely invited her out to follow them into the beautiful house. She entered the house into a huge room. She is surprised when she saw the marvelous beauty of the room she is standing in. The men are talking to her in Hindi. One of them told her that very soon she is going to have her dinner. He even apologized to her for serving her a late supper. That said, he asked her whether she would prefer to have her food first or take a bath. When she understood that the men intended her no harm, Ifit began to talk to them. The first question she asked is why they have kidnapped her from the street in front of her hotel and brought her here, and who are they anyway? Ifit is keenly aware that the house she has been brought to is more opulent and better decorated than her previous two homes in Asmara and Tehran. One of the three men broached the subject carefully, gently saying to her that she is not being kidnapped. He explained that his wealthy and famous boss loves her so much and wants to make her a big film star, that is why he had asked them to bring her to his house. Ifit immediately remembered the man who met her in front of the movie theater and offered her a role in his next movie. She retorted that she is not interested in becoming a film actress. Noting that they did not get angry, she requested to be taken back to her hotel because she is flying out of India in 2 days. The man apologized and told her that decision is his boss and not his. Ifit told them that she would be cruelly punished by her Saudi husband if she does not fly to Europe and do his work. Upon hearing the incredible matrimonial union, the three men are shocked that the 80-year-old Saudi man who is under trial for kidnapping and raping the 11-year-old Indian girl Amina Haider Ali under the pretense of the Islamic child marriage is also her husband. They tried digging for more information, but Ifit fell silent. One of them asked her what kind of work she is going to do for her Saudi husband in Europe. She remained silent too. Before the three men could get further information from Ifit, someone walked in carrying the largest food tray she ever has seen. She recognized nothing on the serving platter, but she is very hungry, not having eaten since that morning. In her hunger, she began eating with her hands, ignoring the fork and spoon, causing the men to gape at her and wonder. She stuffed herself with food, does not chew properly, and grabbed continually at anything within her reach. Ifit simply ate the way she knew how to eat. At one point, she is trying to stuff food into a mouth that could hold no more. The men forced themselves not to laugh, for fear of offending her. Ifit finished almost everything that has been brought to her in that huge tray. One of the men said to her that he could ask the cook to bring more food for her. She thanked him, refused the offer, and said she is quite full. After finishing her dinner, one of the men invited Ifit to go and have a bath. She said to him she does not want to take a bath. She reminded the man of her request. She begged him to take her back to her hotel so that she would not miss her flight to Zurich. The man ignored her request and wished her good night. Then, he asked the other men to follow him, locking her in the room. She does not know whether they've left the house or are hiding somewhere. She remained seated in a huge bed staring blankly ahead. She fully expected the men to come back at any moment and forcefully rape her. Sleep does not come easily to her that night. Eventually, fatigue won over fear and she fell asleep on the huge bed and soon began to snore. Ifrit Khan woke up at midday with no idea how long she has slept. Disoriented but fresh from her rest, she looked around her and found everything to be the same. Her heartbeat has increased faster and louder when she remembered where she is supposed to be. She jerked upright, ran to the door, and tried to open it. It is locked. She banged on the door and called for help, but no one responded. When she tired of knocking and shouting, she went back to the bed and sat on it again. Looking around the room, she realized that someone has left a covered serving tray on a table across from the bed. With nothing else to do and curiosity mounting, she got up and lifted the cover. It is full of various food and fruits. There is a big pot of tea. Scanning the room and realizing she is completely alone, she started eating her breakfast standing up. The previous night's table manners returned. She ate with her hands and stuffed her mouth with food until crumbs littered the floor. The food met with her approval and, when she felt satiated, she poured herself a big cup of tea. Ifrit wished that her Saudi husband would not find out that she had been kidnapped, and also she spent the night in a house with 3 men. She also wished that the Muslim lawyer would not fly to Zurich without her. She looked idly at the 2 passports and air tickets in her handbag and expected that the lawyer would surely go to her husband and complain about her absence. As she had been trained, she now knew that her husband would fly into a rage and send his dangerous men out searching for her. While her mind is occupied with those unsettling thoughts, Ifrit heard the door open and saw someone walking in. She recognized him immediately. She saw the man who had met and talked to her in front of the movie theater and had helped her get into the fully booked theater hall. The man smiled at her and sat across her in an armchair. With a big smile decorating his face, Mahmud Khan told Ifrit Khan that he is responsible for her situation. He repeated what his men had already said to her, that he loves her and is planning to make her a big film star. No matter how alarmed she is alarmed, he assured her that he is not going to harm her nor allow anyone else to touch her. Ifrit repeated her plea to be released, but Mahmud Khan told her that he would not allow any man to come near her. He added that her Saudi husband is not going to come out of jail anytime soon. Seeing her response, he added that her husband might be hanged to death by the Mumbai High Court for the hideous crimes that he had committed against the 11-year-old Indian girl. Then he narrated to her what her husband had done to the underage girl Amina Hyder Ali. Despite her situation, Mahmud Khan was able to convince Ifrit Khan that she is going to be safe in his farmhouse. His tone and his body language subtly underlined his promise not to harm her or force her into anything she does not want. All he seemed to want is her company. When Ifrit has been fully convinced that Mahmud is not going to beat and rape her, she opened up her heart and told him everything the old man had done to her in Asmara and Tehran. Mahmud is shocked to the core of Ifrit's story. He told her that such an evil man deserved to be punished severely by the Indian criminal court. He also assured her that as long as she is staying in his house, she would be under his protection and the old Saudi man would not be able to reach her. Ifrit believed Mahmud and decided to stay under his protection forever. For her, this is a far better option than returning to the old man who filled her heart with fear and abused her in every possible way for 10 long years. For the first time, Ifrit felt secure. She innocently believed that her kidnapper is not going to attempt sex or rape her if she refuses to have sex with him. Mahmud Khan felt incredibly sad when he discovered that his dream girl Ifrit was illiterate. He promised to teach her to read and write in Hindi and English. Before he left, he told her to take a bath and change her clothes. He showed her a big cupboard filled with all manner of unbelievably beautiful female dresses. When he left, Ifrit entered the huge bathroom and took a bath with warm water. She changed her Islamic clothes and put on a modern dress. After her bath, a lady came to her room and showed her how to operate the home theater system. She also showed her a huge cupboard full of Indian movies. Ifit felt as if she has been dug out of a dark dungeon and placed in a golden palace. She found it hard to believe that there is such a loving and caring man like Mahmud Khan. For her, he appeared as an angel compared to her evil Saudi husband. As he promised, Mahmud Khan immediately appointed a tutor to teach Ifit Khan to read and write in Hindi and English languages. It did not take too long for Mahmud to discover that Ifit is not trained for anything in life. She talks and behaves as if she came from a jungle. She does not know anything about the world she is living in. She only knows the old Saudi man and his evil ways of punishing her whenever she does something he does not like. The old man destroyed her personality and turned her into a robot. She became like a child who needs someone to protect and care for her for the rest of her life. Chapter 35. Creating a new secret deal. The old Saudi waited a week for his Muslim lawyer and his Indian maidservant. Instead of 24 hours, he has given his Muslim lawyer and Indian wife 7 days to come back and apologize to him on their bended knees. When Barkatullah did not show up again, the old man assumed that the cheating lawyer has taken his lovely fourth wife Ifit out of Mumbai and hidden her somewhere in India. Most likely, by this time, he has married her and both split the lots between them. Therefore, he lost no time locating a few dangerous Indian gangsters to search for his deceiving Indian maidservant and his crooked Muslim lawyer. He decided not to inform the gangsters or anyone else that Ifit is his Muslim wife number 4. He planned to tempt those thugs with a huge amount of money and send them in a countrywide search after the kidnapper of his beloved wife Ifit and also the robber of his 140 million Indian rupees, who is his evil Muslim lawyer Sheikh Barkatullah. The first step he asked one of his jail inmates to connect him with the most dangerous Muslim Gondas in Mumbai. He proposed to pay 25,000 rupees to his inmate. That inmate is about to be released in a week's time. The inmate promised to supply him with the best Gondas in the city. Therefore, the old Saudi man gave the inmate a letter to the manager of his bank. In the letter, he requested the manager of the Abu Dhabi International Bank to send someone with a checkbook so that he could pay the Indians he is hiring for his important case. When the bank received the letter, it sent someone to jail and met with Mr. Sheikh Firoz bin Ahmed. The old man almost has a heart attack when the bank told him that he could not withdraw more than 1,000 Indian rupees per day. His account is no longer his alone. What he does have now is a joint account with his Indian wife, Mrs. Ifit Khan. It is he who made that condition. Neither party of the joint account is to withdraw more than 1,000 rupees without the consent of the other. With this stipulation in place, the old man would now need Ifit Khan to approve any withdrawal exceeding 1,000 rupees on any given day. Naturally, the bank refused to allow him to withdraw more than the agreed-upon sum as a single signatory. The old man told the bank that his bad Indian wife Ifit Khan has stolen 14 crores of Indian rupees, which are equal to $2 million from him, and also she eloped with his corrupt Muslim lawyer Mr. Sheikh Aldeen Barkatullah Habib Allah. The bank informed him that he should go to the police to solve his problem. The old man begged the bank to dissolve the joint account and create one account under his name. The bank said that the joint account could not be cancelled without the consent of Mrs. Ifit Khan. Then, the bank does tactfully suggest that if one of the signatories died, the surviving signatory would be entitled to the entire sum and the account would revert to a single account holder under the name of the surviving person. The Saudi business tycoon has more than 400 crores of rupees in the joint account at the time when the Abu Dhabi International Bank imposed the withdrawal restrictions on him. He felt like a man who is dying of thirst and is standing in the midst of a huge river and could not drink water unless he uses a thimble. His final trial is scheduled to take place in a couple of months. He knew and understood that if he could not find another lawyer and use him to purchase his freedom, he would go to the gallows and leave his wealth to his accursed Indian wife. The old man had already transferred all his properties in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to the name of Ifit Khan without her knowledge. Even his 2 houses in Asmara and Tehran are hers. Without hiring his own lawyer, the criminal court would appoint him any lawyer selected at random. If he is unlucky, his newly chosen lawyer might be a Hindu man who will be hating Muslims more than he hates the bitterest enemies of India, the Pakistanis. In that case, he will be his adversary rather than his defender. Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed hates all his sons and daughters. He even hates with cruel bitterness his Saudi wives. He does not want any one of his Arab wives to inherit the houses they are living in. At the time of his arrest in Mumbai, he is still having 2 Saudi wives. His first and second wives died a long time ago. The disappearance of his Indian wife created a serious problem for him. It is now a question of life and death for him. At first, he does not want to inform his Saudi family members about his arrest in Mumbai. He remembered that when he was arrested at Asmara with his 11-year-old Indian child bride, all his Arab wives, sons, and daughters stood against him because they saw it as an unconscionable shame for him to have married the daughter of his Indian maidservant. Even his surviving cousin brothers and sisters and distant relatives disapproved of his marriage to a poor female foreigner. His child bride Ifat Khan was but a girl from an outcast Muslim background. None of his Saudi relatives, close or distant, came to court when he was on trial in Jeddah Sharia court. And when the Islamic court cleared him from the charges that the American CIA team tried to nail him with, none of his relatives had come to congratulate him on his victory. For that reason, Sheikh Ahmed decided to punish all his Arab wives and children by cutting them from his great wealth and not giving any one of them a chance of inheriting him upon his death. He knew even his Indian wife Ifat Khan would not know that she has everything written in her name and by default is hers. But after his 4th Indian wife supposedly left him and she supposedly ran away with his wicked Indian lawyer, the old man decided to bite the bullet and seek the help of one of his Saudi sons. He wrote a long letter to his son Dr. Abdul Bari Ahmed and asked him to come as soon as possible and save him before the accursed Hindu idolaters sent him to the gallows. This son is the biological father of the late American human rights activist Shama Abdul Bari, who got killed in a car accident. Her actual killer is her grandfather Sheikh Ahmed himself. In any case, in his letter, the old man requested his son not to inform anyone about his second marriage to his second Indian wife Amina Hyder Ali and his shameful arrest in Mumbai. His son is even more furious when he came to know that his father has once again married another low-caste Muslim woman, this one from the Arzal tribe of India. The Arzal are the untouchable Muslims in India. Fearing the scandal that would result from his father's execution in Mumbai, the son made plans to go to India and preserve the honor of his noble Saudi family. When the son arrived in Mumbai and visited his father in the Arthur Road jail, he became more outraged when he came to know that his father has already transferred all his money and properties to his first Indian wife, Mrs. Ifat Khan. At first, he decided to forsake his father and leave him to die in the Indian jail. This would do nothing but leave the reputation of his family in the balance. He told his father his terms. Unless his father places his right hand on the Holy Quran and his left hand on his gray hairy head and swears by the name of his family that he would not repeat these disgraceful acts, he could expect no help. The father obeyed his son and swore on the Holy Quran that he would never ever marry an Indian girl again. Somehow, this did not satisfy his son. He asked his father to make a second solemn oath. This time, he asked his father to swear by his penis and the Holy Kaaba. Some Muslim Arab men consider the most important things for the man are his penis and the house of Allah. Consequently, the old man placed his left hand on his dirty penis, and he pointed his right hand towards the Holy Kaaba at Mecca City and made that serious oath. Then, and only then, the son agreed to find a good lawyer for his father and tempt him with money and purchase the freedom of his father. The old geezer told his son about the former secret deal that was made between him and the main judge of the High Court and the 2 police commissioners of Mumbai and Hyderabad. The son decided to renew the unfulfilled secret deal, but he told his father that he would not pay more than 500,000 Indian rupees each. He is a medical doctor in Riyadh City, and he simply does not have that much money in his account. Before appointing a new Muslim lawyer, the son contacted the judge of the High Court and the 2 police commissioners and told them about the new offer. All 3 corrupt lawmen of the law agreed to the 500,000 Indian rupees before the trial. The judge and the 2 police commissioners are under the impression that the old man has been truly robbed of 140 million Indian rupees by his unfaithful Indian maidservant. They believe soon or later they are going to find the cheating Indian maidservant of the Saudi man and take the entire 14 crores from her and send her behind bars forever and split the amount among themselves. They knew that the cheating maidservant Ifat Khan did not fly out of the country and most likely hid somewhere in India. For that reason, their frantic searches for her have not relaxed a bit. Howbeit, the two police commissioners demanded 1 crore each after the imprisoned father is released. The judge of the High Court demanded 750,000 before the trial and 2 crores after the father is acquitted with honor. The son accepted the demands of the 3 men of the law with the hope that his father would find a way after his release to get his frozen money released and pay off the rest of the funds. The judge informed the son that if the father would not pay the rest of the money after his honorable release, he would be subjected to a retrial and convicted and handed over to the hangman and get put to death for his hideous crime. The son reluctantly has accepted the condition. But in his heart, he is thinking that he could get another Saudi passport for his father through bribes to police officers in Jeddah City, and therefore he could smuggle him out of India through other international airports in New Delhi, Calcutta, or Madras cities. This time, the first installments have been paid off in a less complicated fashion. Instead of traveling to Zurich and opening secret accounts, the son wrote 3 checks and handed them over to the judge and the 2 police commissioners. It is up to each one to decide whether he wants to deposit his check in his Indian account or prefers to travel to one of the Gulf countries and open a secret account and deposit his funds there. After making the new deal with those corrupt men of the law, the son found another crooked Muslim Indian lawyer and told him the secret plan. The son misled the lawyer into thinking that he paid each party 500,000 Indian rupees and that he would pay each the same amount after the honorable release of his suspected father. The Muslim lawyer accepted the deal and thanked Allah. With the new secret deal in place, there are now merely 15 days to the final trial day on which the Mumbai Criminal Court is supposed to render its final verdict on the Saudi suspect Sheikh Firoz bin Ahmed. Chapter 36. The final verdict of the Bombay High Court on pedophilia. The final day trial of Sheikh Firoz bin Ahmed is conducted on a Friday afternoon at the Mumbai High Court. Indian Muslims gathered in thousands outside the Mumbai High Court and continued to shout and demand the release of the Saudi Muslim man. They have been collectively made to believe by their parents, religious teachers and leaders and imams in mosques, homes, and Muslim schools that what the old Arab man did is lawful marriage and in full alliance with the sacred teaching of the Quran and also the blessed Sunnah of their infallible prophet. They referred to the marriage of their prophet Muhammad with his child bride Aisha when she was 6 years old and consummated his marriage with her when she reached 9. Accordingly, the condemning of the child marriage of the old Saudi man Sheikh Firoz bin Ahmed with the 11-year-old Muslim girl Amina Haider Ali as child kidnap and rape is directly pointing the finger of accusation to the Prophet Muhammad and accusing him of being a pedophile and rapist too. In the meantime, inside and outside the high courtroom, hundreds of Hindus sat calmly and waited for the final verdict to be delivered. Every non-Muslim person has expected a verdict of guilty and the kidnapper and rapist of the 11-year-old Indian girl to be punished to the full extent of the law. The main judge is a Hindu and that gave them the assurance that the wicked old Saudi is going to be sent to the gallows and most probably hanged by his genitals. Nevertheless, when the final hearing of the trial began, their assurance is shaken. The many pieces of evidence presented in court astonished the audience. First of all, the Mumbai Chhatrapati Shivaji International Airport police changed their statements. They said that when they asked the underage Muslim girl about her age, she said she is 17 years old. Her passport also showed that she is 17. Even so, they doubted her age, and that is why they arrested the old Arab man who claimed he was taking her to Iran as his Indian maidservant. Secondly, the Hyderabad Police Commissioner supplied evidence that the owner of the Islamic marriage agency Mr. Farooq Khan and the family of Amina Haider Ali had fooled the Saudi man about the real age of the underage girl. The corrupt police commissioner brought to court Amina's father, mother, brothers, and sisters. All of them testified under oath that they told the suspected old man that their daughter is 17 years old. Thirdly, the police commissioner of Mumbai produced Amina as a witness who then told the court she had told the Arab old man she is 17. In fact, the Mumbai police commissioner is the one who had bribed the International Airport Police and the underage female victim Amina Haider Ali and made them change their statements. Fourth, the only problem that faced the High Court is the maidservant visa. The new Muslim lawyer somehow was able to convince the court because the Saudi man decided to take Amina Haider Ali to Tehran as his maidservant and not as his lawful wife. He argued that his client was advised by someone to take his Indian wife under a work visa because that would hasten the process of their travel. The Muslim lawyer said further that his defendant had a lot of work to do and had no time to waste in India waiting for the long process of getting an Indian wife out of the country. At the end of the trial, the corrupted High Court judge who got bribed by the son of the accused pedophile has nullified the marriage contract between Amina Haider Ali and Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed because it is based on deception. He said it is illegal in India to marry a girl below the age of 17. Additionally, he ruled that the old Arab man is a victim of deception and conspiracy. He then raised his voice above the rising murmurs of the Hindu audience in the courtroom and announced, Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed is to be released with honor with his head highly lifted up. Immediately, upon hearing the final verdict, the despicable pedophile Sheikh Ahmed stood up on his feet and brought his two hands together and began to clap and shout loudly, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. He then thanked the Hindu judge and his jurymen for their honesty and their justice, which they showed to an innocent foreign suspect. He ended his celebrating words by shouting, Today, in this secular courtroom of the infidels, the truth of Allah and his prophet Muhammad has come and the falsehood of the accursed Satan and his followers are defeated. The Hindu audience began to shout and protest and refused to leave the court. The police officers used their batons and emptied the courtroom. The Muslims began to rejoice and celebrate outside the courtyard when they heard the outcome of the historical trial. The outrageous Hindu crowd driven from the courtroom of the High Court met head-to-head with the celebrating Muslim crowd and fierce fighting erupted immediately. Many people got beaten up and some have been knocked down. From both warring enemies, many got killed. Some of the seriously wounded mob died due to the stampede. The police officers have to use tear gases to disperse the crowd. The local and national media broadcasted the results of the trial. Non-Muslim people all over India received the news with shock. They are outraged when they came to know that a Muslim rapist and pedophile walked out of the Mumbai High Court with his head held high in honor. Many people believe that the wealthy Saudi business tycoon had bribed the judge and the police commissioners of Mumbai and Hyderabad. But no one could prove it. Muslims all over India and Pakistan celebrated with fireworks the so-called honorable release of the despicable and dirty pedophile Saudi man. Chapter 38. Uncovering the conspiracy by the Stink News TV. Notwithstanding the celebration of the Muslims of the subcontinent of India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, and the happiness of the 80-year-old Saudi man and his son are premature and only temporary. A news agency in Mumbai known as Stink News shocked the entire Indian nation when it broadcasted a few hours later the confessions of the High Court Hindu judge Mr. Ram Prasad Ramankrishna and the two police commissioners of Mumbai and Hyderabad, Mr. Ambedkar Siddhartha Gautama and Mr. Abdul Rahman Dawood Ali. All three confessions were videotaped and handwritten so that the judge and the two police commissioners have no way of denying them. The Home Ministry in New Delhi immediately ordered the arrest of the three corrupt culprits. Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed is rearrested. He has been picked up from his deluxe room at the five-star Taj Mahal Hotel in Colaba. He is lying bare naked in warm water inside a jacuzzi bathtub when Mumbai police officers arrested him and dragged him to their wagon and drive him back to the bottomless pit dungeon. His Saudi passport has been detained by the police commissioner of Mumbai until he would pay the rest of the agreed-upon bribes. But his son promised to get him a new Saudi passport by paying bribes to some employees of the passport office in Jeddah City. Howbeit, the released pedophile has not enjoyed his freedom for more than a few hours. His son, Dr. Abdul Bari, is not arrested because his name is not mentioned in the confessions. Moreover, the son happened to be in bed with a buck-naked 14-year-old Indian prostitute in another hotel called the Ambassador Hotel. As soon as he saw on the TV the disturbing news of the arrest of his father, he checked out of the hotel and rushed to Mumbai International Airport, and he fled out of India on the same night and returned to Saudi Arabia, leaving his immoral daddy to face the consequences of his uncountable evil deeds. The $1 million question of the day is how Stink News found those dangerous, incriminating, secret personal confessions. No one would believe that the three men of the law could make such dangerous and foolish admissions. In a press conference that followed the broadcasting of the three confessions, the director of the controversial TV channel said that an anonymous person sent to him the confessions through the mail. He received them a week before the final trial. However, he decided to keep them hidden from the police and the public until the historical trial is over. He did not want the three corrupt men of the law to get away with the millions of rupees that they received from the wealthy business tycoon, the suspected Saudi Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed. Needless to say, the confessions are the very ones that the old man ordered his obedient Indian wife to mail to his house address in Tehran, Iran. Ifat Khan followed the order of her Saudi husband and sent them as registered mail. When that registered mail reached the address, the Iranian postman found the house is locked and no one is there to sign and receive the registered mail. The postman made 3 attempts to deliver the mail, but he could not. In due course, the local post office returned the mail to the General Post Office and stamped it as undeliverable mail. The General Post Office in Tehran returned the mail to the sender's address in Mumbai. The undelivered mail returned to the cheap hotel where Ifat Khan used to stay before the men of Mahmud Khan kidnapped her. At first, Ifat tried to send the important materials without the address and sender's name, but the post office in Mumbai told her no registered mail can be sent without a sender's name and address. Ifat knew no other address in Mumbai to give, so she gave them her name and the address of her cheap hotel. The hotel management kept the returned mail for a month. When no one came and claimed it, they decided to get rid of it. Howbeit, out of curiosity, one of the front desk girls opened the mail. She is the one who advised Ifat to go to watch the latest great hit movie at Eros Theatre. The curious Indian girl thought that she might find a nice video of a foreign film or song. She hid it in her handbag and smuggled it to her house. When she played the tapes and read the confession papers, she was astonished at the contents. The girl knew that if the Hindu judge of the High Court and the police commissioner of Mumbai came to know that she was in possession of such incriminating evidence, they would not hesitate to send someone to murder her or arrest her and nail her with an ugly crime and send her behind bars forever. She talked to her boyfriend. Her boyfriend suggested that she should send the confessions to Stink News. He knows that the Stink News raison d'etre is none other than unearthing scandals of high-profile Indians. To avoid being involved in such a conspiracy, the boyfriend told his girlfriend to send the materials as an anonymous person. The Stink News' closest twin would be the international nonprofit organization of WikiLeaks. A couple of days later, it also broadcast the confession of a Muslim lawyer who is not part of the final trial. The new confession revealed that the Muslim lawyer, Mr. Sheikh Aldin Barkatullah Habib Allah, admitted in tape and through writing that he was going to receive a bribe from his client Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed, 30 million of Indian rupees prior to the trial and another 3 crores after the trial. That indicated he is going to receive more money than the corrupt Hindu judge and the 2 crooked police commissioners of Mumbai and Hyderabad. Therefore, the confession of Sheikh Barkatullah puzzled the police of Mumbai. When the police went to arrest him, they did not find him. They did not find even his family members. From his neighbors, the police came to know that he sold his house a couple of months ago and left India and traveled to Pakistan. Nonetheless, the police are puzzled by the new Muslim lawyer who replaced Barkatullah. His name is Mr. Abdul Rab Siraj Aldin. The Indian WikiLeaks has no information on him. He is not included in either the recorded confessions or the handwritten admissions of the secret illegal deal. Given the notoriety of the case, he is also picked up by Mumbai cops and succumbed to interrogation. He admitted to receiving a bribe from the son of the imprisoned suspected Saudi old man, Mr. Abdul Bari Ahmed. The police are puzzled by the 500,000 rupees he claimed to have received as a bribe prior to the final day of trial. His bank account showed the exact amount he claimed to have received. It is a mysterious question to the Mumbai police. The police could not solve the mystery. It just remained an unsolved riddle that the former Muslim lawyer who sold his house and escaped to Pakistan was promised to get a bribe of 60 million Indian rupees. In contrast, the new Muslim lawyer who replaced him was only promised 200,000 rupees. Sheikh Barkatullah was not the only person who escaped unharmed from the stink scandal. The son of Sheikh Ahmed, Dr. Abdul Bari Ahmed, also flew out of Mumbai the same night his father was rearrested in his deluxe room in the Taj Mahal Hotel. The police of Mumbai issued an arrest warrant against the sender of the secret confessions. The sender has been identified as an Indian Muslim maidservant of the old Saudi man. Her name is Ifat Khan and she used to stay in a cheap hotel at Bombay Central. Her name has been published in every newspaper and TV channel in Mumbai with her photo. Again, the police did not have a recent photograph of her. Her Indian passport was renewed by the Indian embassy at Tehran a couple of weeks before she returned to her motherland where she was born. The passport showed that she lived for a short time in Saudi Arabia. She lived 3 years in Asmara, Eritrea, and 7 years in Tehran, Iran. The police also guessed that she is sexually involved with the despicable Saudi pedophile. As before, the police could not trace her family in Mumbai. The address in her passport showed that she used to live with her family at Vakola Colony, which turned out to be a fictitious address. The Indian residents of the building are all Hindus. None of the residents of the place has claimed to have known a Muslim family by the name of Khan. The police were able to find the date she traveled to Saudi Arabia along with her mother, Rayhana Khan. What puzzled the police is the variation of the date on which her passport was issued at Worli Passport Office and the date she traveled out of India through the Mumbai International Airport. It appeared that her passport was issued after she left India with her mother and headed to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. This is another mystery that mystified the minds of all the police of Mumbai. Still, her arrest warrant is issued, as she is deemed to be a critical component of the complicity. This story is to be continued in Book 3 under the title, Miss World and the Rage of Muslims of the World. About the author of this novel. Dr. Ahmed is an author and scholar. He has 5 university certificates, BA, MA, and PhD in philosophy and comparative studies of religions from India, and a Bachelor and Master of Religious Studies and Philosophy from Canada. He was born and brought up as a Muslim, but through his study of philosophy and comparative studies of religions, he converted to Christianity. He has a writing style that can break through any religious, social, and cultural barriers and reveal the truth as it is. Additionally, his books are based on first-hand eyewitnesses because he witnessed those dire conditions of Muslim women with his own eyes. He has written 23 books, but so far has published 10 of them. His books have been written in English and translated by him into Arabic. All of his books are on the issues of women in Muslim societies and terrorism in Islam. His novels are available on his YouTube page, and he narrates them in English and Arabic in his voice.